Good morning, YouTube. This is Tolstoy Kafkaevsky again, bringing you another big retro review here. I guess a lot of you probably remember the time period in like the mid-90s, say 96, 97, 98 probably, more like it, when you had a lot of, it was kind of that strange gaming period where in between the steady, sturdy ages of your 16-bit Super Nintendos and Sega Genesis and your, sturdy 32 and 64-bit 3D systems like your PlayStations and your N64s, in between, when you got a lot of these kind of half-breed consoles that claimed to be in 3D but weren't so much, kind of like 3DO or Sega's, what was it called? The Neptune was cancelled, but the Saturn. Right, well, among all of those, perhaps the biggest failure was Atari's shot at a 3D console, supposedly. The supposed 64-bit Jaguar. Yeah, managed to snag one off of eBay. Take a look at this thing. First of all, this is the system. It is cartridge-based and is not CD-based like most 3D consoles or pseudo-3D consoles were going for at the time. Not much to show off about it. I mean, you just got your, game slot right down there. You've got a flimsy on-off switch and your Jaguar emblem right here. Down along the bottom it says 64-bit. That's kind of interesting. It says, you can't read that, but it says 64-bit interactive multimedia system, which begs the question, how is it multimedia? I don't really think this thing is built to read DVDs or something. Take a look at the back. You've got nice flimsy wiring right there. Not flimsy, but I mean exposed circuitry, which is always nice, and that's where you plug in basically your AV cables and your power cable and alright, well, take a look at the games that it came with, because it did come with games. That's why it was such a good deal. This is what the cartridges look like. They are really unsexy, I guess you could say. I mean, that's really not the epitome of what a game cartridge is about. Obviously, it's about the game, but damn, they remind me of, like, Chinese archways. They're just so awkwardly designed. Anyway, okay, they came in 6 games. Kasumi Ninja. Okay, Ultra Vortex, which apparently is just the singular of Vortex, but okay, Tempest 2000. Soccer! Alright. Iron Soldier. Okay. And, of course, the famous Wolfenstein 3D. Which, well, if you want to think about that, one other thing to talk about. See if I can drag it up here. Let's put that there. This is the controller. It came with 2 of them. This is the one that I had plugged in. Wow, it's like the most poorly. It's like the problem that's with the cartridges in their, or their design and their aesthetics, except for 3 times worse. You got a nice big slab of plastic here. Looks like you could like kill somebody with it. Got your little D-pad there. Let me see if I can move this down here. You got your D-pad here, your C, B, and A buttons, which are not nearly as nice or, well coordinated as Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo buttons. Pause and options, which, alright, whatever. They're a little close together, and the fact that they're slanted, you might get them confused during gameplay. And of course, what you've probably noticed by now is your little phone down here. Because, during the game, you're going to want to, dial up your friends and have a talk. I have no idea what motivated people to think that this was a good idea, like, put a little dialing pad down there, because that just worked so great so far. Anyway. Alright, well, enough of this little pre-talk here. I suppose you want to take a look at some of the games. Gonna set it up with my TV here, well, 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Okay, you're staring at my old Emerson TV again. Time for some more wavy images and shots of gameplay. Now, the soccer game that it came with is absolutely worthless, so I'm not even going to demonstrate that. First one is Tempest 2000. Turn on the system. That's what the screen looks like when it boots up. It takes about an hour and a half to get to gameplay. So, yeah, there you go. Okay, apparently Tempest 2000 is actually just a remake of the old, what's it called, the arcade game Tempest, except for this time with supposed 64-bit graphics. How do I start? Loading. It's very difficult to play, takes a while to get to gameplay, and the controls are actually kind of, well, not very good. And I just died. Next game. Ultra Vortec is a fighting game where robots kick each other in the nuts. It has no blood, which is why I'm wondering why it's rated M for mature, because apparently the ASRB was around back then and rated it M for mature. Kasumi Ninja is another fighting game. This one actually has a lot of blood, which is why it's rated M. I like this little pseudo 3D screen where you pick your combatants by kind of walking around a little maze and picking your fighters. You know, select my opponent now. It's kind of like Doom, except for slow, and the frame rate is horrible and god-awful. Okay, apparently Zenzu versus Thundra. Alright. Okay, plenty of blood. She kicks me in the nuts. Blood, blood. I'm not doing very well. I jump over her. Ooh, kicking her in the face. Yeah, this is kind of sexist when you think about it. Well, maybe it's not sexist. Maybe they're saying that women can compete just as well as men. Apparently so, because she's kicking my ass. Next game. Okay, this one's Iron Soldier. This one's actually kind of an interesting one, which it actually supposedly sports the 3D 64-bit graphics that we haven't seen so far. It's about a giant robot that stomps through a town and blows up stuff. You play the giant robot. There it is. Okay, I'm going to select a machine gun for my giant robot. Yeah, good. And we're going to go around shooting stuff. The controls for this are pretty stiff. It's difficult to destroy your enemies, and the graphics look like puke. And I just have this to say about it. If this is 64-bit graphics, then I'm Mahatma Gandhi's grandmother. Although, nice attempt at it. I like how the tanks blow up into little bits. You can't destroy the town, though. That's kind of lame, but here we're going to go stomping through it. Let's get to the last game then. In 3, 2, 1. And here it is. Who could forget it? The living legend, Wolfenstein 3D. Yes, for the Atari 64-bit console. Well, the only thing that can be said about this is it is kind of a fun and cult classic game, but let's face it, you could get this on pretty much any other system. I think it was on the Sega Genesis, the Super Nintendo, pretty much on every other system. It's not bad on this system. The frame rate's a lot better than it was in the other game's pseudo 3D level, but well, I digress. Okay, my finishing thoughts on the Jaguar supposed 64-bit multimedia console. Well, first of all, this thing was a colossal failure. That you should probably know. And I think it got on the list of top 10 worst video game consoles by Screw Attack, Stuttering Craig, and Handsome Tom, which, they're a funny duo. I like watching their videos. Anyway, and there are some good reasons. First of all, dealing with a cartridge console, I think makes you really appreciate CDs again. CDs, you know, and that's because, I mean, there you go. I mean, you know, it's just really not, it's not that convenient, and it makes you feel like you're going to break the damn thing. It's obviously going to wear a whole lot faster than the CD mechanism, so I guess Atari really should have gotten with it and decided to go the way of pretty much every other console at the time. Even if the Sega CD was a major failure, well, other consoles were going into CD. I guess the only people who could really pull it off were Nintendo with the 64, because I thought that their cartridge system was very smooth. It didn't bother me, their cartridges, because their hardware is always very sturdy. Another thing is that you kind of feel like you're getting robbed by Atari, only because they keep on spouting 64-bit. I mean, if you remember the commercials, it was a woman screaming, Jaguar, 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 and then, it said, do the math on the screen, because, oh, 64 bits. Where's your 64 bits? You saw the gameplay. The highest, the only 3D graphics I saw were on Iron Soldier, and that wasn't even 32 bits. That was like, that was like 16-bit. That looked like, just about what the original Star Fox was, the original Star Fox was impressive for a second generation, maybe third generation, I really don't know the generations, but for a Super Nintendo game. Supposedly something that's 64 bits should obviously be able to do something a lot better. Besides that, the control pads. The control pads are horrible. First of all, the controls are extremely stiff. I don't really like them. It's difficult to kind of figure out the control scheme, only because you got kind of 3 buttons, and I don't know, and of course your numeric pad down there is not good for anything. Even in Wolfenstein 3D, you'd be thinking, oh, this should be able to, change weapons like this. No, apparently not. You can't, like, sort through weapons, 1 to 10. Also, for some reason, they're really glitchy. I had this problem where if I'm pressing, some of the buttons and moving the joypad or the D-pad at the same time, it'll just pause the game for me, which is extremely unnerving. Besides that, there weren't many very good games to come out with it. I've got 6 here, and I guess the only ones that don't really suck are Iron Soldier and, where's the other one? Wolfenstein 3D, which, again, you can get this on every other console, so I paid like $40 for mine. If you can find it for 10, I'd say yeah, 10 or 20. 40 is a little high. I only did it because it came with a second control pad and, all these games. Try and find it at a yard sale if you want some cheap kicks or if you're starting a collection. Other than that, there's really no hardcore fan bases for it, so, pass.